Right guys, welcome back to another video on the channel. So I've just bought the LG 77-inch OLED G3. Now if you're thinking you're a bit late to the party, I definitely am. The G4 is already out and the main upgrades between the G3 and the G4 is a new processor and slightly better AI booster and overall just a bit more of a enhanced experience. However, when it comes to the hardware behind the actual TV, we've still got the MLA tech which came in the G3. That was a big hardware improvement from the G2 and you can definitely tell that between the G2 and the G3. However, when it comes to the G3 and the G4, it's a lot harder to tell and it's definitely not worth the price increase from the G3 to the G4. So I got the G3, and to be fair, I had an incredible TV before. I had the 65-inch LG WX. That was a wallpaper TV from 2020 and overall a brilliant TV. However, it started to get some image retention problems and it was beyond the point of ignorable and you can still enjoy the TV, to the point I would literally have my Apple TV on, I would go from the home screen where it had all the icons for the apps, then I'd go onto YouTube and Netflix icon was still there, or the Now TV app was still there shining through, and it was a little bit too much. That was my first experience ever with burn-in, and it was 100% worth it for the time I had. And the only reason why I could actually upgrade to the G3 is because I sent the TV off for repair and it couldn't be repaired, therefore I was given a voucher which significantly reduced the cost of the G3. And if you look on any retailer's website right now, the G4 77-inch model is around $4,500. The G3 is $3,500. So my 77-inch LG G3 OLED that you can see on the wall right now, I paid £1,800 for it. And that is an absolute absurd price. However, slight little catch, it was an X-Display model. But it's still got 5-year guarantee with LG. And overall, it was absolutely worth it to have it already been on display for like 6 months to lose half of the price, and to say I've still got the 5-year guarantee as well, no complaints from me whatsoever, absolutely worth it. Anyway, enough rambling, let's talk about how good this TV is, and it's so good that honestly it's ruined pretty much every other screen in my life. This 77-inch G3 is by far the best OLED that has ever been created, at least in my opinion. It's the biggest and brightest TV I've ever seen, and I'm well aware that it used to be the case that LG OLEDs and just OLEDs in general didn't get that bright, and that is somewhat true, especially with the gaming monitors that are coming out that are using OLED technology. I've been massively underwhelmed. I bought a 27-inch OLED Ultra Gear monitor, the 240Hz one, the original Ultra Gear OLED, and I returned it because it was genuinely really poor brightness. It had weird vignetting around the side of the screen and it was just overall not a very nice experience. But this LG G3 ticks every box. It is super bright, it peaks at 1500 nits of brightness and up to 2000 nits of brightness in the vivid mode. Now I'll come back to that a little bit later because I do actually recommend using the vivid mode if you do alter some of the settings. And as well as that, I'm sure you're aware that it's a 4K 120Hz screen, which has sort of been the case for the past 7 years of OLEDs. It's not really that impressive anymore, however, still nice to see. And even at 77 inches, 4K is still more than adequate. And I mean, once you get close to the screen, within a few inches of it, you can absolutely see the pixels. Of course you can, it's 77 inches. But a couple of feet away, or more realistically like 7-8 feet where you should be sat away from this TV, you absolutely cannot see the pixels on this screen, and 4K is still more than enough. But the main improvement for this TV is the MLA tech, and going back from the G2, which didn't have this, it is a huge improvement for brightness. You can see HDR brightness up to 1500 nits. Don't get me wrong, that's not sustained brightness. You can't have a full white screen at 1500 nits. In certain highlights and bright parts of an image, especially if it's in smaller areas, it can peak up to 1500 nits, which is getting closer and closer to the kind of brightnesses that smartphones can push out. And over the past week and a half of using this TV, I've not once sat in front of it and thought, I wish it was a bit brighter. I do get that with my 42-inch OLED sometimes, especially when using it with my MacBook. I can definitely feel that sometimes I wish it was a bit brighter. With the G3, it's not a problem whatsoever, and it is, in some cases, too bright. However, when you buy the TV and you open it out of the box, it is not that bright. and you've got to change some of the settings in order to get the maximum output of this TV. And to be honest, it confuses me why this is the case, because surely if you're LG, you're going to want people to get the best possible image as soon as they open the box. Because this isn't just for OLEDs, this is for TVs in general. I feel like 90% of people who buy a TV are just going to turn it on and want it to look good. They're not going to spend 15-20 minutes faffing around in the settings trying to make the screen look better. They're just going to want to open the TV, put it on its stand, and turn it on and it looks good. However, TVs just aren't like that, and same here with the LG G3. As soon as you turn it on, there are multiple settings that you're going to have to turn off in terms of energy saving, turn up the brightness settings, etc. Please, the most important feature to turn off with this TV, especially if you've spent this much on a TV, is go down to your energy saving and turn it off completely, because energy saving basically just lowers the brightness, so it uses less power. However, if you're spending this much money on a TV, just treat yourself and keep the brightness on max. And moving on from that, if you actually go into the picture settings, I recommend, especially watching movies and TV, you're going to want to start off with the vivid mode. Now, I know vivid mode isn't for everyone. I personally quite like it. I don't like it when you turn on vivid mode and just leave it as it is on its stock preset, because it's just a bit too oversaturated. A lot of smooth motion going on. It's not perfect. However, if you set the vivid mode as a starting point, and a couple of settings that you're going to want to change with vivid mode to make it look good, you're going to want to go to your colour settings, go to colour depth, turn that down to about 50. I think that's my sweet spot. You can go up to 60. I think then genuinely it's down to your personal preference. 60 makes it a little bit more vibrant, but it's not oversaturated. I think 50 is definitely more natural looking, but I sort of have it on 50 to 55 depending on what I'm watching. In addition to that, go to your white balance settings, because I think on the top of my head, when you turn on vivid mode, it's on cool 20. You want to turn that down to just 0. Not too warm, not too cold, just in the middle. That'll make it look better as well. And also, I like to go down to clarity and turn sharpness down to 0. I just don't really like how sharpness looks on TVs. And also you want to alter the motion handling settings, and I personally turn that off. You can also use cinematic movement, that's okay as well, I don't mind that. Whatever you do, don't use smooth movement, that is just crazy, that's far too motion blurred. If you are wanting a little bit of motion blur, however, though, just use cinematic movement, that's absolutely fine, looks good as well. But as you expect, it's an OLED, it is just absolutely beautiful. You don't have to watch a review to know how good an OLED is. Just go into a shop, look at an OLED, and you'll be like, wow, I want to buy one. It's the sheer brightness that this TV can handle which makes this TV unique compared to every other OLED you can ever buy, and I think that's the main selling point here. Another major selling point with the LG G3, which I'm personally not much of a fan of, is the anti-glare coating that it's got on the TV. Now, it's still a fully glossy panel, however, it does handle reflections a lot better. However, when you've got a direct light pointing at the TV, it does scatter that light a lot across the screen, and it also raises the black levels as well, a tiny bit like the QD OLEDs do. Not as bad, but a little bit more like that. And for me personally, I've never really had that much of an issue with glare and reflections on LG OLEDs. To be honest, I quite like that effect. So, don't get me wrong, in a dark environment, you're not going to notice this whatsoever. But if you are in the middle of the day and you've got a sunlight shining right onto your TV, yes, it'll minimise that reflection, but it'll also scatter that light across the screen, and it will raise the black levels a little bit. But it's nowhere near as bad as Samsung's QD OLEDs. I just can't get around that, really. I'm just not a fan of that whatsoever. I'd rather have loads of reflections and not have it scatter across the screen and almost look grey in parts. I just like the glossy effect. Anyway, moving on. That's just something to keep in mind. Now, one of the things that I didn't intend to use this TV for, but I've really enjoyed actually, is gaming. Gaming on a 77-inch OLED TV, or a 77-inch TV in general, just sounds crazy, and I would completely agree. It's absolutely ridiculous, but it's ridiculous in a really good way. Now, it's still just as responsive, if not slightly more responsive than my LG's 42-inch C2, but it's just much bigger as well. So I genuinely enjoy gaming on this TV, and if you've got a PS5 or an Xbox Series X, plug this in, you'll just be blown away with how good it looks. And even for competitive games like XDefiant I've been playing a lot of recently, or Call of Duty, or even things sitting back and playing some FIFA, it's genuinely a really nice experience, and I found myself using my 77-inch OLED more than using my 42-inch OLED. But in terms of gaming performance, this isn't drastically improved from any other TV. Yes, it's slightly lower input lag on the G3, and it's brighter as well, which is the main selling point really, but that's just part of the TV in general. You still get your 4K 120Hz, AMD FreeSync, G-Sync, VRR, all those features, which has been in pretty much every OLED TV from the past 5-6 years. But yet again, another year of being an incredible gaming TV. Definitely a bit ridiculous to play some games on, but it is fun. On the whole, there's not really much I can say about this TV, which is bad at all. I think one of the main downsides is that it doesn't come with a stand. So if you're wanting to get the best LG OLED TV that's available right now, you've got to get the G3. And the G3, especially on the bigger sizes, doesn't come with a stand automatically out the box. You're going to have to buy that separately for around £250, and it leans back quite a lot as well, and it's overall not a great experience. If you're getting a TV of this caliber, throw it on the wall like it's meant to be on there. I'm using the LG wall bracket that comes in the box that sits flush to the wall, and as you can see, it sits really close to the wall. It looks incredible, it looks really clean. However, cable management is a bit of a problem. One of the main downsides as well with the cable management with this TV, the power cable comes down the middle of the TV and all your HDMI cords come down the left side, so it's not even like you can drill one hole in the wall and feed everything through there. You've got two massive cables that you've got to deal with, and yeah, it's overall not a great cable management situation. And as you can see, I've covered up the power cable really badly with white tape. It's quite crumpled, but from a distance it covers it up and makes it less distracting, and I'm just using white HDMI cables. I didn't really want to drill more holes into the wall than I already am, so that's how I did it. And once you get used to it and you're not looking at the cables, you don't see them, you don't notice them, so especially on a white wall as well. Overall, this TV has been worth every penny, and to say I got it so cheap as well, honestly, one of the best purchases I've ever made, and I can't imagine that LG OLEDs are going to get much better than this over the next few years, so I'm looking forward to having this TV for the next 4 or 5 years, well, until it breaks really. But yeah, that's going to do it for today's video. Let me know down below what you think, and let me know, do you think it looks absolutely ridiculous on my bedroom wall? Definitely does, but I love it. And that's going to do it for today's video. If you enjoy the content, do me a massive favour, leave a like and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.